McCarthyism was a campaign carried out by Senator Joseph McCarthy in the 1940s and 1950s that dealt with finding and exposing suspected communists in the United States. The post-World War II Cold War with Communist Soviet Union created a Red Scare, a fear of communist infiltration and takeover in the United States. McCarthy was the face of the anti-communist movement and tried hard to uncover and then blacklist any suspected communist sympathizers for fear of a betrayal of United States loyalty. The House on Un-American Activities Committee, or HUAC, was the official investigating body of the movement. One particular case was the Hollywood 10, where 10 producers, directors, and screenwriters were tried in front of HUAC and sent to prison for contempt of Congress. There was no concrete evidence, and the case angered many people. Today, a comparable phenomenon is Islamophobia. Terrorist attacks and relations in the Middle East have created an irrational fear of Muslims in general. One example of this would be President Trump's travel ban, which halted all refugee admissions from 7 Muslim-majority countries. In 1966, the National Organization for Women was founded by Betty Friedan. She once said, "There is no civil rights movement to speak for women." She created this movement to demand equal rights and recognition for women. Women did not have equality in their homes or in their workplace. Head and master laws and no-fault divorce laws made divorce not an option and women practically property of men. They were limited to jobs such as teachers, nurses, or secretaries. Only 6% of doctors were women in 1960. Today, we have a similar problem. We are still fighting for our rights. 2018 is the year of women. We are responding to being discriminated against and fighting sexual harassment with the movement Me Too. We have women's marches every year to support our community. The women's movement is now in the mainstream, and people are finally talking about it. We have record numbers of women in office, and men are finally joining the revolution. Since 2016, the number of women in the government has doubled, and we're finally taking a stand. I am Hitler, the leader of Germany's Nazi Party. I took absolute power in 1933. My decision to have Germany invade Poland led to World War II.
By 1941, Nazis occupied most of Europe.
His regime was anti-Semitic. His obsessive pursuit of the Aryan race fueled the murder of 6 million Jews in the Holocaust. I committed suicide in a Berlin bunker in April of 1945.
The Holocaust greatly impacted the world and was a devastating loss. There hadn't been a genocide this big since the Ottoman Empire. This is still known as the biggest genocide in history.
Genocides still happen in modern times. A recent example of this would be the Dufarian genocide that began in 2003. A similar leader by the name of President Omar al-Bashir has killed 300,000 Dufari civilians and displaced over 2 million people since 2003. The violence began to escalate dramatically in 2011 when South Sudan became an independent republic. After the removal of the United Nations peacekeepers and a threat of war between South Sudan and Sudan, President Omar al-Bashir continues to commit war crimes to the current day. In the 1960s, with a new generation came counterculture, a way of life that rejected previous traditional roles and attitudes. Called hippies, the people of the counterculture movement were known for wearing bright clothing such as tie-dye, with long hair and flowers, and sandals. They were also known for using drugs such as marijuana and LSD, and advocating for peace and freedom of social rights. More relaxed views of sex, nudity, and gender roles were tied with the movement as well. In the 1970s, protests by this group were largely focused towards the Vietnam War. As concepts of peace and love were big in this movement, the seemingly unnecessary war was a big issue for them. The music of the decade reflected counterculture lifestyle and was a big part of the hippie life as well. Jimi Hendrix, the Grateful Dead, and the Beatles were hugely popular. Today, there are movements similar to what the counterculture advocated for. Ones like Free the Nipple, which promotes body inclusivity, and Pro-Choice, which advocates for women's abortion rights, share the same ideals as this movement did.
here I go, here I go, here I go. 1920s, what's my weakness?
Jazz.
Okay then, chillin', minding my business. Harlem Renaissance began, I couldn't believe it. An African-American movement, ideas and poetry moving through the music. Times were tough, so they had to kick it. The people started all the advancements. It's Harlem in NYC. When the blacks moved north, they got some opportunities. Trying to outlaw lynches in communities. The NAACP got some influence on the politics. They were into this. Got some really great musicians out of this. Don't know how they do the music that they do. Racism spell, it's like hell. Makes me wanna move, movement, movement. Harlem Renaissance movement, movement, Harlem Renaissance
Well,
movement. You thought I was over, but we're coming back. Now there's Black Lives Matter, just like that. Can I get some rights with that bad brutality? The cops will kill, and it's a doozy. It's a shotgun bang. What's up with that thing? My hands are up. I didn't do a thing. Straight up, wait up, hold up, officer. Like they said, my race will bring me trouble. Both movements moved us forward by a mile, bringing black communities together for a while. Movement, Harlem Renaissance movement, movement.